So when I was 16, I played sports. I went to school. I had a sister, a couple dogs. We lived in the suburbs. I was adopted. So that was the thing about me that was unique. It was part of my identity. And also, I had been an active skateboarder. I love skateboarding. I built a ramp in my backyard. And when I was 14, actually going to get supplies to work on that ramp, I was skateboarding home. I got hit by a truck and it clipped my arm and it was hanging off. It was called a compound fracture. And that was November 14th, 1992. I'll never forget that date. And that was 2 years of surgery. That was just the initial trauma. And they had to take some bones from certain places to rebuild it. A couple surgeries for my hand, like carpal tunnel surgeries to relieve pressure and nerve damage there. Plates in, plates out, little fine tune. So it was over 2 years. It was 6 surgeries. Before the last surgery, I was going in for my clean bill of health from the doctor. And he's like, yeah, you're good to go. Any questions? I was like, well, when am I going to be able to move my thumb like this? And he's like, what are you talking about? And what had happened was somehow, I don't know if it was from the plate or just wear and tear, but the tendon had snapped in my thumb. And once he identified that was a problem, he's like, well, we have to operate on this immediately because it's getting further away and we have to reconnect it. It was frustrating. I had been through a lot of surgeries, a lot of just not feeling like I fit in, especially my adoption story. It was labeled white on my birth certificate. And I later found out that I'm Native American. So I just looked different than my family and didn't really have anyone that I looked like growing up that I felt bonded with. Just always kind of felt like not quite fitting in, even though I did the sports and I was decent at sports, but just kind of felt like a loner, didn't really feel like I belonged. And then especially after the accident with a cast on in and out of surgeries, I felt as though people were walking around, being careful around me. I was delicate. I never really felt comfortable. I didn't fit in, I didn't belong. But now with this last surgery, I was already at the breaking point. I was like so relieved to have this clean bill of health. And I was like, I could just start to be normal. I could just go back to being normal, or at least try to start being normal. What the doctor said was if I didn't repair it, my thumb would eventually work itself into my hand and eventually I wouldn't be able to grab anything and my hand wouldn't be working very well as an adult. I was like, I don't care if you cut the thing off. I cannot take any more surgeries. I can't do this anymore. There's pain meds involved. The whole situation over again once you think you're out of it. It was very frustrating. And I told my parents I didn't want to have it.
So when they said I had to have another surgery, I was against it. I felt like I had taken enough and I couldn't take any more. And I told my parents, I said, I don't care if they cut my arm off. I'm sick of it and I can't go through this again. And they said, well, the doctor said this is what you have to do. We are thinking about your future. So they said at the end of it all, they said, you're a minor and we have to do what's best for you. We have to decide what you're going to do and what's best for you is to get the surgery. So you have to do it. It made sense. I couldn't argue it. It wasn't worth arguing. So I just resigned to that and got the surgery done and it got better. It was tough, but like a lot of things, once you just start doing it, it's not as tough as you thought it would be. My arm got better and it was like, all right, summertime's coming. I was just almost out of school. It was a month or maybe like a few weeks left of school and I started getting tired. I always had a ton of energy, played sports, skateboarding, mostly just that, but I was getting tired and I was sore, my neck was sore. My school nurse saw me in the hallway. There was a lump sticking out and she thought, and she's like, hey, what's going on with that? I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's just kind of sore. I've been tired. She's like, well, probably should go get that checked out because it might be something. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm already getting a physical to go to camp or I needed a physical for whatever I was doing in the summer. And I promised, I told her, yeah, when I go see the doctor for the physical, I'll mention it. By the time I did the physical, it had gone down, but I still mentioned it. I was like, oh yeah, I promised the nurse I'd tell you there was like a lump over here. And he's like, oh, there's nothing there now, so if it comes back, just let us know. The next day, it was back. And my primary care started just getting tests, like tuberculosis tests, all kinds of tests, and they couldn't find anything. The final test that I ended up getting was a chest x-ray. Worked in the office, started with my mom, had the chest x-ray, you gotta go pay the copay. I think we went to the car and she's like, oh, I forgot to give the copay. So she went back in. Now, what she thought was them looking at the x-rays. Later on, she told me, I think I knew something was up just by the way that they were looking. When they saw me, they're like, oh, no. So anyway, a little time goes by and the doctor says, we think you might have Hodgkin lymphoma. You're gonna have to go get a biopsy done. And that'll be the definitive diagnosis. And I heard Hodgkin's lymphoma, and I'm like, I just got through all this massive stuff. what I just went through, this will be nothing. This will be maybe some pills or something. We went into the hospital. It was actually the same hospital where I'd spent a couple of weeks after my arm was broken, where I had all my surgeries there. So I was used to it, and I was like, oh, this place, like, this is nothing. Like, I've been through here. I'm like a pro at this, a pro patient. I'm looking at the other building, and I'm like, Dana-Farber, what is this? We parked in there, we went in. It wasn't until we got to the front counter when I looked at the sign, it's like Jimmy Fun Clinic, and I look at my mom, and I'm like, why are we here? This is for kids with cancer. Again, later on, she was like, in my head, I was like, oh, he doesn't know that Hodgkin's is cancer. He thinks it's just like some kind of flu or something like that. So that's when immediately I started thinking about my father's sister, who was going through chemotherapy treatments for her breast cancer. They said, she has breast cancer, we see this all the time, we cut it out, give her some chemo, it'll be fine. We see it all the time. It came back, and she was getting some high doses of chemotherapy, and she wasn't doing well. I was like, oh, this may be a little bigger than I thought, but still, I've been through some stuff, and we'll just take it as it comes. When I got home, my sister was there. I think she was away at school or college. So I was like, why is she here? She's crying. She's with my dad, and they're crying. And I'm like, oh, don't worry, this is fine. This will be fine. We've already been through so much, and this will just be another little bit in the hospital. They're like, no, your aunt died. That was the same day I was diagnosed, she died from chemo. And that was what I thought to expect from chemotherapy. I didn't consider my family feelings for a lot of this part of my journey. I was on self-preservation mode. It wasn't until later, till actually writing about it, where I started considering things from other people's perspective. I'd be driving down the street just thinking like, oh my God, like what was my mom going through? I never considered that stuff. I didn't want chemo. I had personal experience with cancer, and I felt like it was just a poison and it was gonna make you more sick than the cancer. I'm assuming a lot of people can relate with that who are going through chemo because it's real aggressive. Back then, I guess it was even more so than it is today. Today, it's the same protocol for my kind of cancer at my stage. Don't use as heavy a dose. It was rough back then. I didn't know anyone that had chemo and lived. I just experienced someone die from it. This is where I said to my parents, I don't want to have it. I'm a minor, and it's the best thing for me, so I have to do it. And I knew already there's no use to fight. I knew from the start I was gonna have to do something, because like that feeling I had before with the arm, I couldn't take much more. Once I started getting the chemo, lost my hair really quickly, started losing weight. I'm the kind of patient that asks questions. They're putting on double layers of rubber gloves when they pump certain chemos into my foot. And I'm like, why are you putting 2 pairs of rubber gloves on? She's like, oh, are you kidding? If I push it in too fast and it leaks out, it'll burn right through my hand. I'm crying. You're putting this into my heart? This is going directly into my heart? I've had a lot of x-rays in the past couple of years with my arm. Oh, don't worry. When we do x-rays, it's safe to mount in a specific area, so you don't have to worry. Okay, as you're talking through a microphone behind a lead wall, I realized my position and I had no control. And that's when I just prayed, because I remember learning that God won't give you too much that you can't handle without His help. I couldn't do anything about it, and I was out of ideas. So I just said, maybe you just want to take me home. That's what I did. And then I just kept going on, getting the treatment, and just kind of being quiet and just listening. I felt I was being pulled to leave. Not really a destination, just get away. It was like this feeling I kept having. And I packed a go bag and just waited for the time when I could be strong enough to get away. Because after chemo, I'd be 2 weeks for a couple days, then it would be a few days. Each treatment got progressively long. And then finally, I left my parents a note. I said, I love you, and I'm sorry to have to do this. Please just forget I ever existed. I already didn't feel like I fit in many places, and in my mind, I could just delete myself and not cause anyone any trouble or any worry. And I just got on a Greyhound bus and I had my skateboard, and I was like, I'm gonna die from cancer, not from chemo. I've been getting treatments, I've seen the kids in there, they did not look so well. Some of them didn't show up, so I'm assuming the worst. I'm not gonna die in a hospital. I've spent enough time in a hospital. There's things I haven't done and things I haven't seen that I have enough time to do and experience. But I have to get out of here. So that's what I did. I had a little bit of money. I said, all right, I'll travel as far as I can get with half the money. I'll probably be alive like this long. I'm planning on a short downfall. I just looked on the map. I was like, okay, it's winter. Well, it's gonna be winter soon, so I don't want to be cold. Let's go south. I saw Lake Charles, Louisiana. I'm like, hey, I can go and enjoy the sun and nature. So I bought a bus ticket to Lake Charles, Louisiana. And when I got there, I didn't see the lake. It was the bus stop, so it wasn't really appealing. And for $20 I could go to Houston. Now, the last skate video I saw was 411 Video Magazine number 2, I believe. And that highlighted Houston as skate town and a huge skate park. And I'm like, I'll just go live under the ramps. There's other skaters. We take care of each other. I'll just show up and I'll be okay. So that's what I did. I showed up in Houston. I started skating around. I saw some kids skating. I said, hey, I'm Billy. I'm from Boston. I had a fight with my parents. I'm here to skate. I can't deal with them anymore. And they put me up and we skated. And it was the first time I really felt connected and fitting in with people. And it was in that skateboard community. We were at one of the guys' house to tell his dad we were going to go skateboarding when all of a sudden I'm on TV. And his dad, it's like Friday, his dad's on the couch like after work, just waiting for dinner, just sitting there. He's like this runaway cancer patient. And his dad's like, hey, don't you guys know that kid? Now I had already done the little tiptoe backward and went outside. I was like, I got to run now. Now I'm back to running. I thought I was free of it, but now I'm on TV. What am I going to do now? But I just put the hood out, pulled the ball cap down, had my skateboard, skated, looked similar with the way we dressed. I felt like I could just hide that way. But I did call home, and I just wanted my mom and my dad to know that I was safe, and I just wanted them not to be worried. So I see them on TV crying. I was heartbroken. So I called home, said I was okay, don't look for me. I've taken the Great Hump through New York City, Washington, D.C., Philly, Atlanta, Tallahassee, Lake Charles, and Houston. And now every stop, I'm getting out and skating around these cities, and nothing really bad happened to me. And if you know the areas, Greyhound stations are rough areas in cities. And I'm a 16-year-old kid on my own. There was a few weeks in Houston where I was communicating with my parents. Now I was staying with one of the other kids' parents at his house. So I'm actually talking to adults, a couple moms, and they're like, we're not going to turn you in or anything. We want to make sure you're safe. And now they're talking to my parents, and they're working together to try to get me to understand what's going on. What was going on was that people had seen this. This was nationwide media. This is on the news everywhere. Runaway cancer patient. People were calling and writing letters pre-internet and sharing information about stuff that had helped them. Some were not supportive of my decision to leave treatment. I was gone for a while. There's all this new information, and one night on the phone, my mom said, if you come back, you don't have to go on chemo. Just promise that you'll look over this new information and maybe give it a shot. And not wanting to die, again, just this overwhelming feeling of this is the right move, I went back home. Time away from home was about 3 weeks. When I got home, there was a mountain of mail and lists of phone numbers to call back. The first thing we did as a family was just pray, God, give us a little guidance here. It's overwhelming. We're open to hear what we should do. I started reading the letters, and they were all about all different things. Some were about diet, and we had already asked my oncologist if diet had anything to do with cancer. He straight up said no. He said, in regards to diet and cancer, your kid's sick, and he's going to be going through some chemo. Treat him to McDonald's. The high fat content will help keep weight on too, because you're going to lose a lot of weight with chemo. My mom's like, no vitamins or anything like that? Is there anything we could have done to prevent it? No, it's genetic, and you just need the chemo. That's it. So now all these people are sharing information about dietary changes that help them for all kinds of different ailments. So when I was reading it, I was pretty quick to realize that they were either hate mail, that was one pile, that was easy. And then there was fan mail, that was easy too. And then there was diet. So I just started making piles. I was reading the letters and I'm just tossing them into different piles. The pile about diet was growing the largest, and the next pile was about FEXT. I'm just reading and just sorting by the letter. I wanted to start right away with diet. That was something I could just do to at least make it feel like I was not on pause with my recovery and losing this battle to my cancer. They keep saying it like battle of cancer, and that's that, making it seem like the cancer is the enemy. So I just wanted to give my body what it needed so that it could be healthy. It just seemed like something I could do. Also, the FEXT helps clean the blood and help eliminate toxins, and I definitely know what the chemo tasted like toxin being injected in your blood, but you could taste it, you could feel it in your bones. It's kind of unforgettable. It didn't feel good, it felt toxic, just having it done. So those are two things that I believed in right away. Give myself nutrition, get the toxins out of my body, but those are just good things for anyone. I didn't look that great. I was ashamed of being sick. That was another part of it. I didn't tell anybody that I had cancer. I felt shame for my ailment. Don't know why, but definitely did. And then one night I answered the phone, and this guy, he's like, is this Billy? Yeah. He's like, hey, I got something that might interest you. I'm using this thing from Canada for my ALS. I have a position in the government which allows me some inside information about treatments that aren't approved. And when they said there's nothing the doctors could do except for monitor how my disease has progressed, pretty much telling me how much closer to dying I am. I have money, I have power. I will scour the earth to find something that helps me. And he found this thing and he used it. Now, he had been in a wheelchair and lost use of his hand, and he claimed that he could now fidget with his TV remote and open doors, doorknobs and stuff like that. He's like, you build your immune system up and then your body fights cancer the way it normally would. And it made sense to me. Again, though, I'm 16, but sounded good, didn't make you sick, it wasn't toxic. The only thing was I have to go to Canada to learn about it, and I was in the media, so it's hard to get around without being noticed. So I took this information to my doctor and said, hey, I don't want to do chemo at all. I want to try this first. And they said, this will kill you. And they told me all the different ways I would die if I tried doing this. All the ways the cancer would kill me or the treatments that I was going to take would kill me. It was the head of all the departments at Dana-Farber, the head of the hospital, the head of psychology, head of radiology, oncology, all the bigwigs, and me and my family. And it was clear that they were scared. Why are they scared? What is going on here? This is just a weird vibe. They are trying to scare me into doing it. And when we left, my mom and dad were looking at each other. They were scared. What was that about? I don't know, but I'm definitely going to try this. They reported my parents to the Department of Social Services as unfit. Me and my dad hopped in the Subaru and went to Canada. I'm all in on that. Returned to the hospital, tested. There's still cancer, and they want to do more chemotherapy. I just want to try this stuff that's not toxic first. And I started January 10th. By the middle of March, I got tested again. There was no cancer. They were like, eliminate red meat, dairy, sugar, and flour. So that was the dietary thing. The Essiac was a tea, and it was a Native American thing, and 4 herbs, and you brew it a certain way, and I just drank that every morning. I drank it in the morning before I prepared my shot of 7-14X, which was an injection lymphatically. I'd wake up, I'd have my tea, I'd listen to music, I'd ice the area, prepare the injection, give myself the injection, ice again, listen to music, get up, and I've already done something today. If nothing else, I've made my bed and I've done something for myself. I've taken an active part in my healing process, and I believe in it. Dana-Farber said, our treatment can only do half of this work. It's your will and your belief that it's working that's going to take you the rest of the way. Now, that is also what they said in Canada about their medicine. They said, we have a medicine that does this to your body, but you have to believe in what you do. They said it was like 50-50. I've had the opportunity to speak to a great many people in the field of alternative medicine, and the more people I've talked to, I think it could be higher. Honestly, believe in what you're doing and how it affects your body. I think there's something there that more than I originally believed. I'm a big believer that if you believe in something, it's going to work better. And that's what was happening with me. I believed in this. I felt empowered. I knew it was non-toxic. I had a basic understanding of what it was doing, so I could visualize what it was doing inside of me. And started January 10th. By mid-March, the cancer's gone. Believed in the mind-body connection with only restricted with the more people I spoke with. The total was 6 months of the 7-14X. The diet was longer, and the Essiac was longer as well. The Essiac was years. I was about 23, and the media kept up. Every year they do a follow-up. What are you doing now? How are you doing? And it's the same thing. I felt good about that. People are going to find out about this. They're going to start using it, they're going to get better, and no one's going to have to suffer like I suffered, which is going to be a good thing. Usually a story takes maybe 2-3 hours. They come to your house, tape up the windows, and turn your fridge off so it doesn't start running in the middle of the interview, and they're in and out. Maybe they'll buy you dinner. This woman, Katerina Bandini, was an anchor for either Channel 5 or Channel 7 here in the Boston area. And she spent 2 weeks on this story. It was a big story. This was a big thing. Billy Best is cancer-free, and it's because alternative medicine, this is what he's doing. It's been this long, this is what's happening. And it was a good opportunity to get a full spectrum of the story to people. My family was all excited. It was Valentine's night that was coming on. It was maybe 7 o'clock news, Channel 7, that sounds about right. And just before, you get a phone call from her, and she's talking to my mom, and my mom's like, okay, and hangs up. What happened? She's like, well, she just quit because they won't air the story. When she called the owner to ask why, he's like, this talks against the pharmaceutical industry, and they're our sponsors. We can't air them. The story's never going to see the light of day. And that broke me. It really disheartened me. I did not know how to deal with that. The feeling that I had this special information, special knowledge from painful experience. I would speak anywhere. At first, it was a joy to be able to give that back. I have to admit, later on, it was kind of to pump my ego up. The longer I've been out of the media spotlight, I kind of started to miss it. I started taking it more personally because I felt like I was failing. And I wasn't doing my job of advocating for the way of thinking about healing. I was depressed, and that shame again, all these bad feelings. And now the news was, they pretty much said, in my mind, we're done with you.